How does the following scenario sound to you? You have to follow a certain routine every day for a whole year. For example, going for a walk every morning, doing a mindfulness practice, hitting the gym in the morning, doing the same job every day, just trying to build a good habit. Sounds boring, right? These days, everybody tries to build the perfect morning routine or sustainable financial habits to be financially independent. But we tend to cancel these routines and habits after a few days or a few weeks because we're kind of bored. But I started asking myself, is it really that we are bored? Or is it something else? For myself, I noticed that there's sometimes a big misunderstanding between being bored and a phenomenon called delayed gratification. In our fast-paced world, dopamine hits wait around every corner. Niklas Christl made a perfect video about what dopamine is and how you can do dopamine detox, which I'll link down below. But in short, dopamine is the feel-good chemical of your brain.
If I do it once, I do it again. Add it up, bankroll, euro, peso, add it up. I'm just doing me, everything is on me. Oh, you matter what?
It gives you instant gratification, so it's the perfect opposite of delayed gratification. Social media, online shopping, or fatty and sugary foods are just the most common examples which will give you an immediate dopamine hit. And I think this short-term instant gratification, dopamine hits filled world is the reason why a lot of young people, especially young people, struggle with sticking with a certain job, staying in a long-term relationship, buying a house, staying in one place for a longer time. So if we can't get these little dopamine hits, we feel bored, we feel unsatisfied, we feel unhappy. And the huge problem that comes with all this is that we live in a consumer culture that is absolutely aware of this unhappiness and tries to exploit it. Instead of applying good habits, delayed gratification, certain routines, hard work and patience, we can simply consume a product or a service and immediately feel good. The problem is we quickly adapt to a newly purchased product or service due to a thing called hedonic adaptation. I'll link a great video about that down below as well. So how can we build long-term habits, get used to delayed gratification and think long-term? First, we have to understand the two basic forces that control us here. First, there's a powerful force called resistance. In his book The War of Art, Steven Pressfield describes resistance as the most toxic force on the planet. Resistance prefers immediate gratification and hates long-term thinking. Resistance always tries to prevent us from doing our work, from evolving, from growing, because it takes time and effort. It always tries to distract us with a cheap and easy fix, and it often results in something that I'm sure you already know: procrastination. It's very important that there's no cure against resistance. As Pressfield writes, the battle must be fought every day. And I think resistance might be easily mistaken for boredom. The second force is what James Clear calls the plateau of latent potential. When we think of a new habit, we often expect progress to be linear. We hope the results come quickly and are equal to the effort we put in. But in reality, the results for our efforts are often delayed, which can lead into the valley of disappointment. It's not until we break through the plateau of latent potential that we can see any results. And when other people break through this threshold of the latent potential, we often call this an overnight success because we don't see the hard work, the effort, the patience, and all the time that went in the project. So any mastery simply requires patience, and patience might also be mistaken for boredom. So how do I deal with that? For me, simply knowing this makes it a lot easier. Usually I'm very impatient and very hard with myself when I don't see immediate results. And after reading all this, I just wasn't as hard to myself as I was before. Another nice aspect is that I didn't feel that I failed when I didn't get immediate results. I just knew that the results will show later than I expected. For example, going for a walk every morning or every now and then didn't get me more mindful immediately. Practicing certain skills every day felt boring at some time. until I saw that there are huge compounding effects just because I stuck with it. And for example, being in one job for a longer period of time made me an expert in this field. So with all this knowledge, just ask yourself, what is it that I'm feeling? Is it resistance? Is it impatience? Is it the need for a quick dopamine hit? Or is it in fact boredom? If it's really boredom, change something. If it's not, stick with your routines. It will reward you big time.